Hi there guys, Metal Crusader here once again. Before anything else, sorry about the last couple weeks, I wasn't able to put out anything, but here I am again to talk, as usual, about re-releases. Today I will be talking about, actually I was going to say one iconic band and two big bands, but I guess in its own way, every single one of these bands is iconic. And, well, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk about the releases right away. So, first and foremost, that iconic band, that big band, let's call it that way, which are Entombed A.D. Let me just show you the LP first. There you go. It's actually a picture disc, so I'm going to show it to you. Hope you guys can see it. I placed the cell phone a bit further away today, and I'm getting the feel that it's not capturing everything as well as it usually does. Well, it's not that video resolution is really the strength in this channel, is it? But oh well. I really dislike when it's this tricky to place it back on the sleeve, you know? Okay. Side C and side D. I like to keep these plastics, they always help to protect at least a little bit the LP. So, about this release. First and foremost, Entombed A.D. Back to the Front, released back in 2014, yes, 2014, by Century Media, and it's the first full-length of this new take on what is already, or what was already, an iconic name. Entombed was an iconic and is an iconic name, and Entombed A.D. picked up that torch and kept pushing forward with what Entombed were known for. Because let's face it, after the split with LG Petrov leaving Entombed and Entombed calming down a bit, I guess there was a need to fill that gap. And I must say also about Petrov that his resilience is quite admirable, because from Nihilist to Entombed, now to Entombed A.D, there is this, how can I place it? I guess he has this need, this desire to push this sound further and further, and thankfully so, because this release brings back so many good things, brings back that good old buzzsaw sound on the guitars, that good old Swedish death metal distortion, you know what I mean. And, well, it also brings back Entombed, death and roll, the usual groove, the good riffs, everything for you to listen and headbang from start to finish of the release. It's a really, really good album, it's a really good release, and a really strong comeback for Petrov in particular. I believe there is another member that is from Entombed, so he usually was with Entombed, not sure. I believe he was in this release. Besides that, well, just what we would expect from a release involving Petrov. That good old cavernous vocals, that it's almost I really like his vocals, because it's almost as a primal screaming. It's really aggressive, but at the same time quite understandable what he's saying. I really, really like that. He is basically the buzzsaw in vocals, let's leave it there. So that's about it from this release. It's just what you would expect of a good album from a great Swedish death metal. I'm finding it hard not to call it a band, because let's face it, this keeps the flame going. This keeps that same old vibe going from Entombed. Like I mentioned, Petrov pushes forward, and it's quite admirable how much he pushes forward this genre. So, Entombed A.D, I don't want to disrespect or not to mention the other members from Entombed A.D. They do deserve credit, because again, great riffs, great drumming, amazing groove. It's just I believe Petrov deserves to be mentioned a little bit more because of this pushing forward that he has. So that's it about this release. Recommended tracks: Kill to Live and Second to None. Easy, 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 easy. For me at least, I really like these two tracks. And I really have, by the way, just a special mention here, I really have to thank to a good friend of mine for introducing me to this band and in general to Swedish death metal. Thank you very much. Now, moving forward, I usually don't purchase tapes. It's really rare. So rare that at the current time I only own one tape, which is the one that I'm going to talk about now. But it was really cheap when I got it, and well, why not? And honestly, I will tell you a little bit about the story, let's call it that way, the story behind this tape, and the album itself. So, the tape, really simple. It's summoning Dol Goldur. Oh crap, I shouldn't have done it like this. Here it is, the J card. I guess you can see it like this. So, before talking about the music, like I mentioned, this tape, I guess, it deserves to be a little story to be told, because, like I mentioned, I don't own tapes, mostly because I prefer to listen on vinyl and CD. I prefer that sound, usually, but that doesn't mean I don't like tapes. However, with this tape, on the day that I purchased, I came home, I placed the tape on the tape deck to listen it. It was without playing for so long that the moment I placed the tape to play, the tape deck broke. I have this tape for what? A year and a half now, and only about 2 to 3 weeks ago did I listen to it, because finally I managed to get my hands on a Walkman, thankfully to my girlfriend. She actually gave it as a gift to me, and now I can listen to tapes, and that will definitely lead me to purchase one or other tape, because there are some bands and there are some things that I do believe I enjoy a little bit more on tape, with this particular album being a perfect example of that. This is Summoning's third full length. It was released on 1997, through Napalm Records, and Summoning hail from Austria, if you don't know that. What I meant previously with this sounding really good on tape, it's because, well, it's already that lo-fi sound present on Summoning, and I really like that that lo-fi sound given because of their huge influence from Dungeon Synth. Summoning, to me, it's like a battle between Dungeon Synth and black metal, a constant struggle where there usually aren't any victors on their releases. This release in particular, Dol Goldur, as you would expect from Summoning, it's a really epic, heroic, at some points mournful release. It's a release that, like Minas Morgul, previous to this one, keeps going with the programmed drums, which I believe even today they are doing programmed drums. I believe every single release. I don't want to be lying, I might be wrong on this one, but I believe they don't have a single release with real drums since Minas Morgul. Might be wrong, so take it with a pinch of salt. With this being said, and talking about Minas Morgul, it's the natural follow-up. What I mean with this is Summoning came with Lugbur's a traditional or typical black metal album. Then they moved on to all this epic and all this heroic feeling on their releases with Minas Morgul. But on Minas Morgul, although one of my favorite albums from Summoning, still has a lot, and I mean a lot of things to tune a little bit to make it perfect. And I believe that with Dol Goldur is where Summoning make their, let's call it their brand, their formula. It's on this release that they make what will make them known throughout. They perfect the formula, they deliver an incredible album, and this album can really put you through a lot, and I mean a lot of feelings. For instance, one of my favorite tracks from the release, actually one of my recommended tracks from this release, is Casa Doom. And Casa Doom has these amazing moments where you have this mournful feeling, where you actually feel lost at Durin's halls. But it also has some heroic and hopeful even moments throughout the song. And I really, really like the way that Summoning shape their music in that way. So I guess that's about it from this release, because like I mentioned, it's what you would expect after Minas Morgul. It's a great album. It's Summoning in its purest way, and personally I love it, and it's actually one of my favorite albums from Summoning. So I strongly recommend you, if you haven't, to listen to Dol Goldur, especially if you are a Summoning fan and didn't have the chance yet, or by some reason haven't listened to it. So here it is again, Dol Goldur by Summoning from Austria. Oh, almost forgot. Recommended tracks, right? Casa Doom and Untold A Long Glory, I guess. Yeah, Untold A Long Glory is also a pretty good track. Honestly, this entire release is amazing. Listen it from start to finish. But if you want to listen to just one or two tracks, these two. I always like to recommend some tracks, because I believe it's like this. If you want to know a little bit about the band, listen to an entire album. But before that, you will need to enter it and to know why you should listen to that band. And I believe that you should know one or two tracks, maybe first, to decide if you want to invest more time in the band. But just a little side note there, a little personal thought, if you will. So, at last but not least, definitely not least, like I mentioned, today we're talking about all iconic bands, Entombed A.D, Summoning, and there is a band which, although a lot more recent band, but still a really good one, and still a genre-defining band. I'm talking about the last one that's on the title of the video if you clicked, which is Sorcier de Glace. I don't know how to speak French. So, here it is. Oh, there you go. I believe it's really hard for you to notice anything, and maybe you even get the chance to see the back of the cell phone due to reflections. This release, it's by Obscure Abhorrence Records. Records or Productions? Obscure Abhorrence, let's leave it there. Sorry guys. These guys come from Quebec on Canada, and here it is, the... God damn it, this is big. There you go. So, Canada, Quebec, 2016, fifth full length from Sorcier de Glace. When I meant iconic, and honestly, I'm going to push the rope a little bit here, but I believe Sorcier de Glace are to Quebec the same thing that Entombed are to Sweden. Don't get me wrong, they are both really influential, but there has definitely been a rising of the metal noir québécois, or Quebecan black metal, which is this movement there, which I really enjoy, by the way. Sorcier de Glace and Fortress were the pioneers, I believe, on that. And it has usually these really beautiful melodic and atmospheric moments with some more intense parts, and there is this particular sound, this little atmospheric vibe that I really like from there. And I believe these guys are amongst the creators of this feel. Now, moving on to this particular release. First time I listened to it, I already knew Sorcier de Glace. As I mentioned, I really like stuff from Quebec, so yeah, I had to listen to previous releases from Sorcier de Glace, and eventually I came to North, which is a release I'm talking about right now. And the first track immediately blew my mind. It was this really grand, atmospheric feel. It's really melancholic, it drags itself, and you get lost in this atmosphere created by the music. I know I'm going in circles with what I'm saying, but this first track, it's really incredible, and it also makes you a fool. Why do I say this? Because after the first track, the rest of the release has nothing to do with that. I don't know why they did this, or what made Sorcier to go with this, because the first track, it's completely different from the rest of the album, and the rest of the album, don't get me wrong, the first track is amazing, as is the rest of the album. The rest of the album, on really high contrast to the first track, is fast, is furious, and is intense. It has this constant glorious feeling, like what I interpret, or what I think is supposed to be Quebecan black metal, and you always feel this amazing pride and glory while you're listening to this release. So it really takes you in. With the release, what else can I say? It's a cold release. It's a release that while you listen, it's hard not to think about snow-covered mountains. It's hard not to think and not to feel that that way. And it's great. It's just great. At certain points I am lost for words, sorry about that, but it's just an amazing release. The vocals will range from the almost frog-like vocals that are usually present in Sorcier de Glace, and sometimes you have the typical raspy vocals from black metal too. The drums, like I mentioned, can be fast, can be furious, sometimes mid-tempo. Overall, a great album and a great release, focusing more, I would say, on this glorious and cold feel throughout the release. So it's Quebecian black metal at its finest, and it's a really, really great album. Recommended tracks would have to be Storming from Beyond, which is track 4, and North, which is track 6. And of course, well, listen to the opener, because although it is really different from the rest of the album, it's a really, really good track. But if you want to get a feel from this album, like I mentioned previously, I like to recommend these tracks for you to get a feel of the album. Not necessarily because they are my favorite tracks, most of the times they are my favorite tracks on the release, but if I recommend you a track, doesn't mean that it's my favorite or that it is the best track on the release. It means that it's the track that I believe that shows the release to its fullest. Let's call it that way. So yeah, that's about it for today. Again, sorry about these last couple of weeks. I will not be recording anything else today. I do hope, however, next week to be able to record something and keep some videos to myself. I have been doing that. I've been recording 2-3 videos per session to guarantee that you don't miss any video, or that I can give you videos on a weekly basis. These last 2 weeks wasn't possible. I hope next week will be possible to record a few more. With that in mind, I guess I'll see you on the next video, and until then, well, keep your horns up.